Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Jitters.
And I'm Kozi.
And we're back once again. We recently went and finished all that stuff with live action things, but we really weren't done with live action things, were we? Because there's more to talk about. So the day that we recorded the Cowboy Bebop Netflix episode, where we watched, the first two episodes, and discussed our thoughts and the potential that the show could have, we also were kind of hanging out in someone's house getting ready for, a convention? It was a convention.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh, Thanksgiving, right. And we ended up just putting it on in the background and ended up watching the rest of the whole series. So we might as well talk about it. We're coming into this very late.
Yeah, everyone's already forgotten about it.
Yeah, but you know what? Why not?
Considering that it's canceled. So.
Yeah, why not drudge up the past? Maybe we can, instead of just straight up bashing it, maybe think what could have been done differently?
Yeah.
What could have,
constructive criticism.
Let's try to be as constructive as possible, but at the same time, we're gonna rip some shit.
We're gonna bash it,
but,
of course.
Yeah, so... Alright, just to recap. Original series. I've seen all of it, you've seen all of it, I believe, right?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Yes. But it was about 10 years ago.
I've also seen all of it.
Okay. How long ago?
A couple years ago for me. I want to say maybe 20... Actually, this was before I became an anime-aholic. I would probably say this was 2018, I want to say. It was on Netflix and...
Fairly recent.
I think mine was
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, mine is peak Adult Swim era.
It was high school for me.
Okay, so me and Envy have probably seen this the most recently. Well, we've all seen this, but the good
original,
one. The good one. Not the original, the good one.
The good one.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember a little bit of what we had talked about before. That way we're not going over the same stuff. I think my thoughts on it after 2 episodes were, this was okay. It could get worse. It could get better.
Lo and behold, it got worse.
Yeah. Where was everyone else? I think, Kozi, you were kind of the most pessimistic, I feel like.
Well, I mean, that was just on grace of it being a Netflix adaptation, but I still feel like it was very much it could go either way, but it doesn't look like it's going in a good direction.
Yeah, I kind of felt similarly.
Yeah, well, you guys win the prize.
It got worse.
I don't know what prize you got.
No prize. We actually lost
prize
in
of
the
it being
end.
canceled.
Yeah.
I will say, out of the 4 of us, I'm probably gonna be... I don't know if being positive is the right word, but I would probably say I was the most lukewarm or positive about it, because when we were watching it, I would periodically look over to Al because this is his favorite anime of all time, and I was just slowly watching the soul leave his body as the night went along.
Every single vicious scene that went on, Al died a little more inside.
Yeah,
Understandably.
pretty much. It's kind of how I was when we were watching Titans, not to bring that back up again.
Yeah, it was definitely a similar reaction.
Yeah, it's every episode, this just gets worse.
Exactly.
Which is saying something, because it's very hard to make Batman kill the Joker in your first episode of your season, and then it gets worse.
But they achieved it, which is an accomplishment in and of itself.
I'm almost impressed.
Yeah, and this one has some similar turns.
Yeah,
It just one-ups itself in how bad it gets.
Yeah, in a big way. So, just out the gate, let's get the positives out of the way. There's not a lot, but there are some, and they should be noted. Number 1, Mustafa Shakir.
Yeah.
Best
one.
person in this.
I'm gonna be completely 100% honest. You're gonna hate me for this. I liked this Jet Black more than the anime Jet Black. The anime Jet Black is a classic, don't get me wrong, but I like the way he performed him a little bit better, if I'm being honest.
I'll be real with you. I think that's a totally valid thing.
Fair.
Part of it for me is that he's actually in character.
Yeah, you can tell he watched the show.
Yeah, that's why I can accept
unlike
people,
everyone else.
That's why I can accept people being oh, I like this version better. It's kind of I like Jim Carrey's version of Count Olaf better than Neil Patrick Harris, but I understand people who would also like Neil Patrick Harris. They're kind of different, but they're, it's the same character. But the character is the character. Everyone else in the
He
show
did.
is varying degrees of not their character.
Yeah.
But Jet is Jet.
He did a really good job. I think it was more timeline-wise. Like, we were getting Jet straight out of, oh my god, I cannot remember what they're called, because they didn't...
Would describe it, maybe I can help.
The Red Tiger? Red Dragon?
The Red Dragon Syndicate?
The Syndicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we were getting a lot of Spike out the gate.
And because of that, with Jet, like, you know, it was much earlier than what we would be used to in the anime.
For Jet's, like, characterization and stuff?
Yeah.
I can kind of see that a little bit. Plus, the episodes are longer. They have, which is, like, is a double-edged sword, obviously, but, like, you do get more time to see Jet, especially early on, where you might not have in some of the early episodes of the original series. But I don't know. Part of it is just you said it. He watched the show.
Yeah.
You can tell, like right down to his voice. He's doing Bo Billingsley.
Right. You can tell that he was in the character.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really, in contrast to the other people that he was next to, you can really feel it. And he definitely came out on top in that aspect.
I guarantee you he's the only one who watched the show, or at the very least watched a good portion of the show. I guarantee you he watched the whole thing.
I would believe it, yeah.
Everyone else, I feel like, did not watch it at all, or just, like, watched 2 episodes like, I get it. Because, like, I remember we watched that, it was John Cho and Danielle Pineda.
Was it the interview?
Yes.
Where he didn't know?
Yeah, okay, so it's like, I don't know if you guys have seen those ones on YouTube. It's like BuzzFeed or Vanity Fair or somebody who does, like, the Google autocomplete.
Yeah, the Wired autocomplete stuff.
Yes, that. And one of the ones for John Cho was about his character Spike Spiegel, and it said, and one of the questions was, does Spike have a fake eye? He's like, no, he doesn't have a fake eye. What are you guys talking about? And I'm like, that is one of the biggest character moments in the whole fucking series. So you just, okay.
I don't know how he didn't know that.
Because he
unless
didn't see it. He didn't watch it.
Yeah.
He didn't watch it. He didn't do any research on it.
Unless he was joking.
He was, really?
He seemed pretty serious, though.
Yeah.
Is this swinging where you are? I feel like when we did, like, the first 2 episodes, you were very positive to him being Spike Spiegel and how he was characterizing him.
Yeah.
Do you feel a little differently now?
Look, he's not as bad as some other people. And I'm going to say this. I don't want to put all the blame on the actors. I know we're heaping a ton of praise on Mustafa Shakir.
They had awful writing to go with.
The biggest problem here is the writing. We'll get to that. But I think the reason I'm praising Mustafa Shakir and not really anyone else is because I think he rose above the material he was given.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we talked about with some other people from the last episode, like Lakeith Stanfield and some other people, Chris Penn, a bunch of actors who just are good actors, and they, even if they're not given a lot or they're given garbage, they can still push themselves. I think it was just like,
I think for me, John Cho just doesn't give me the right vibes for Spike.
Yeah.
He gives me more of, like, I don't know, like, he doesn't feel as cool, I'm sorry to say. Like, he's...
Yeah.
He
feels
a bit of a
old.
dad.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't give me Spike, and I just was never really into it that much. Honestly, when I heard about his casting, I felt like they could have found somebody closer to the character.
I mean,
I think he did well in terms of, like, I think he put his all into what he could.
Sure.
I think he was invested. He wasn't phoning it in, but I just think he was slightly miscast.
I mean, honestly, Spike's one of the coolest fucking characters in all of anime.
Yeah, it makes it hard.
Is anyone gonna be able to do him?
Honestly, I think he would have made a better Vicious.
Maybe.
Oh shit, now there's an idea.
That could have been interesting. I mean, we know Vicious was miscast, but...
Vicious was...
Like, I think...
Vicious, I don't know. There's like... you and me have had a little bit of a debate as to who got it the worst. Like...
Vicious
is definitely in contention. But
I feel like Spike was, compared to some of the worst people, he was fine, but I just feel like they could have, if they had looked, found someone better is what bothers me. But I think, like, in comparison to what happened to Faye or Spike, I think he comes out looking good. But in comparison to Jet, who I think was legitimately good, I think it was kind of miscast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of sounding like maybe everyone's favorite episode would have been the detective one.
Yeah.
Nope.
No?
Which was your favorite?
Well, I don't have one, but...
Oh. I thought
I
one that
you were
focused
really
on
happy with how they did that episode.
I'm happy with how they did part of that episode. But, like, here, we come back to the issue of these are hour-long episodes.
Yeah, that's true.
And people know the original Bebop, 22, 23 episodes, or 22 to 23 minutes per episode, because it's the usual TV anime runtime. And I think I talked about this before. When you have that tight of a time to do it in, you have to make every moment count. Every line has to mean something. Every, action, reaction, thing that happens has to serve the plot and the characters to its best ability. Otherwise, you've wasted your time. And if you waste a moment of time in a half-hour broadcast, you fail. Like,
they padded the dialogue so much.
Oh yeah, you stretch it out to
that
an hour.
Half the episode was Spike and Faye just going about how we're gonna prepare for our mission, and they're just I don't even know what they were doing. They were just bullshitting
dumb.
half the time.
Yeah, that's part of the reason that I hated that episode.
It felt like most of the time they were trying to make like Marvel-esque dialogue, and it just came off as really corny and it's just not as quippy and interesting as the original dialogue.
Because that's what Marvel is. It's kind of corny. It's a bunch of dad jokes half the time.
Yeah, it doesn't fit Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, granted, I'm not bashing Marvel here. I do find Marvel funny. We saw Doctor Strange recently, and I genuinely laughed at a couple things in there that were jokes and whatnot. I mean,
I think it's good when they don't lay it on too thick. I feel like Cowboy Bebop laid it on so thick.
Because they had nothing else. They had 23 minutes of content that they were supposed to adapt, but they had to stretch it to like 55 minutes.
Right. So they had to pad it so much that they just had useless, unfunny conversations that they thought were quippy and fun, but were just kind of lame.
Yeah, like when they're quippy and fun in Bebop, it's to it's not to fill time. It's to serve a larger purpose.
It still moves the story, and that's one of the main things about screenwriting is that every scene should be like every scene is meant to have a beginning, middle, and end, like a movie in and of itself, and it's supposed to move forward the overall plot. And I feel like this just kind of failed on that kind of basic screenwriting level to me.
Yeah, which is actually like really big for Bebop because Bebop itself is like it's a movie in every episode.
Yeah, and every scene I feel like has that beginning, middle, and end, and every scene has like a purpose and a goal in it.
Yeah, I think
that serves the overall story.
And it's the meaning behind a lot of the lines that make them either one funnier because it has purpose and meaning. It's not just we're filling time, or it adds more weight to it because it's going to be important to whatever the plot is or the character arc.
And I feel like the characters have this style. And this, like they have style, instead of like having kind of, I don't know how to say, everybody feels a little corny in this version.
They do.
Like they just don't feel like they're living up to that level of
it's a bunch of people in cosplay
that you got, from the original show. And I think that's one of the things that really bothered me was it didn't have that neo-noir coolness that the original one had. It just didn't fit the tone, and that's one of the things I loved about the original Cowboy Bebop.
I mean, you say neo-noir, and you're right about that, but it also didn't have like elements of like the Western stuff as much.
I could feel them trying that,
but they don't like go for it.
But it felt like they were going more in a like Firefly kind of way instead of whatever Cowboy Bebop had.
And that's fine for Firefly. Firefly is Firefly.
Yeah.
But, that's like saying, oh, we should do every Western the exact same way. And you shouldn't. Like, if you watch 3:10 to Yuma, it's not the same as True Grit, and it's not the same as The Searchers, and it's not the same as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. They're all different movies with different styles and flavor to them, mostly because they have different directors and different kind of stuff
so like a space Western can also feel different. I think Cowboy Bebop and Firefly feel different, but this feels more like Firefly.
Bebop's a Clint Eastwood Western. Firefly's a John Wayne Western.
I could see that.
Yeah. I feel like we're going way into movie buff stuff, so we might be losing a couple of our compatriots.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Do we want to go over what they actually covered in the adaptation? Because I feel like...
Sure, yeah.
They pulled a few things, but some of them were also kind of like... They took an episode idea and put their own twist on it and ran with it.
Yeah. So they kind of covered the first episode. We watched both the first episode of Bebop and this one. They both cover the Tijuana with the red eye stuff. I actually thought for the most part that was done well when they were keeping to the story. Again, when you start having the extra things come in with like, oh, now we got to bring in the syndicate right now, we got to do this, and it starts to really like drag and fall apart a little bit. But like when they were actually doing the story of it, I think this was probably the best episode. The worst, this might just be a personal thing for me, but probably the worst adaptation of an individual episode. It's Teddy Bomber for me.
Yeah, that one fell apart.
Yep.
Even worse than the finale.
Look.
No.
Well, we'll get there. But, like, the big thing for me is that this is not the Teddy Bomber episode because it has nothing to do with Teddy Bomber. And Cowboy Andy isn't there. And I know they weren't going to do him, but...
Ed, would they have been able to do Teddy Bomber?
I mean...
Are we sure we stopped on episode 2? It does look like it was the Teddy Bomber, but...
yeah, we did stop on, like, episode 2 or something.
Okay.
Because I remember they were an hour long, and we weren't going to, like, watch through 3 of them, because that's a lot more to have everyone sit through for a week thing.
Okay,
yeah, like,
so I have the episode list pulled up.
Sure, yeah.
Can
I just, before you continue, I just wanted to, like, say, like, the Teddy Bomber thing, like, I know Ed is important to that episode in that they get the thing figured out. But the real point of that whole episode was Spike versus Andy.
So I guess, you could have still done it. If they had included Andy.
You're just so hung up on Andy.
You really fucking love Andy. And I knew they were never going to have... And I know they mention him later as like a little Easter egg thing.
Like he was on the list or something.
He was on the list of bounty hunters. That was during Jet's thing, which is like the half of the episode that's just fucking garbage. But, yeah. I love Andy. That's one of my favorite episodes. Which is, like, saying something, because they're all my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it's Darren Norris. He's also the bad guy in the movie. And Cosmo from The Fairly Odd Parents. It's Cowboy Andy. I love his theme. There's even everything about him. The horse, the theme song, everything. He's fun. He's so much fun.
They took my favorite stuff with Gren and trampled on that,
God, do we want to fucking talk about that?
Gren.
Hated it.
I'm going to tell you this. Let's get through the rest of the episodes, then we'll go to Gren.
Okay.
Because, boy, howdy, is that fucking...
Well, I mean, kind of swinging into Gren. Episode 3 was Dog Star Swing, about Jet needing to get his daughter that stupid doll. And Spike meeting back up with Annie.
That was where they found AYoN, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. That's a very unmemorable episode, and,
it was whatever for me.
Yeah,
they had some cool shots.
It was a decent enough way to bring AYoN in, I guess.
AYoN was cute.
Well, AYoN's AYoN's a dog. All dogs are perfect. So,
AYoN's perfect.
We want to say that of the cast, the best people are... Probably tied for first. Mustafa Shakir and the Corgi. They both did excellent.
Episode 4 was the eco-terrorist, which I think they changed what the virus did.
Yeah, originally it turned people into monkeys. This one like is it's not a virus so much as a terraforming nanomachine or something. I'm fine with that.
Trees.
Yeah, it turned them into trees. I'm fine with that sort of switch. It's essentially the same message that they're trying to come across. It's just different things for, different stuff.
I was definitely fine with that. I just hated everything with Faye.
Oh my god, Faye. God, we'll get to her too.
Yeah, she needs a whole section.
Yep.
Episode 5 was The Dark Side Tango, where Jet partnered up with his old detective buddy.
I like that part.
Half of the episode is okay. Half of the episode is garbage.
What was the other half that wasn't about Jet?
It's the fucking shower episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's the one where Jet goes off to do his noir detective
Oh, is it the
story.
one where they're just talking?
Yeah, they're sitting around,
no.
and they're like, which bounty should we go after? There was a whole prison transport. There's a whole prison transport that left a bunch of criminals everywhere, and they're like, bounties left and right. We are poor. We should go get money. And they sit the whole fucking episode there doing jack shit.
All right, yeah. One half was good, one half was bad.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's the least Spike episode I've ever seen.
That's true.
Spike he just would have gone and done something.
Yeah.
Faye, honestly, just would have gone and done something. Whether they agreed on who to go after or not.
They would have just went their separate ways if they didn't agree.
And eventually they get, this show seems to love Seinfeld scenes.
Yeah.
You could have eventually
needed to pad it out.
You could have eventually had them come back together in a Seinfeld-esque, oh, you're going after that guy? I'm going after this guy. You take him, I'll take it. And they just cross paths.
Yeah.
Because that's how Seinfeld works. But apparently they didn't like Seinfeld enough to actually include a real Seinfeld plot element into their episode. No, just the scenes at Monk's Diner. Fuck.
Do you mean the bidet?
Oh, yeah, the fucking bidet. That was a previous episode.
That was a really bad Seinfeld conversation.
Yeah. Oh, my God. You know what? Still, I'm going to give points to Mustafa Shakir. Even though his lines are garbage,
he tried his best.
He put in effort.
Episode 6 was Binary Two-Step.
The what?
That
Binary
was,
Two-Step?
Where Jet goes under the doctor thing, the mind control.
That was
Not mind
Spike.
control.
Spike did that.
Spike,
with
yes.
the dream of Julia and all
that was based on the Scratch episode. Also, just like, I guess it shares.
It was kind of interesting.
A little bit. I think
I'm not
Scratch
gonna lie.
worked better. But
I was tuned out for most of this episode. The only part I tuned back in was
let me guess, the garbage
Faye
parts?
was gay.
I don't have a problem with it.
Faye was gay in this episode, and that was the only takeaway.
I have so many other problems with her character.
Yeah, this was like the least of my worries with her character because she was like, yeah,
no, that's not a worry.
Honestly,
for me.
it's the
I'm
most
like,
believable
that's
part.
a point I'll give to them.
I was fine with that, but like everything else about her,
it feels like what could have been the most in character thing for her from the original series.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. The whole romance of that episode was basically the setup to a porn.
Yeah,
like
yeah. I think that's what I didn't like. I didn't like the way the romance was, but I was fine with Faye being gay.
Good to know we're circling back to just the awful writing.
Yeah.
But hey,
episode.
If anything fails, these writers can go into porn.
Yeah.
Because say what you want. It's a porn setup. It's a good porn setup.
If this whole adaptation would have just been like bad Bebop live action porn, it would have been more believable.
You're right.
I feel like I genuinely want to see that, actually. Yeah, I could be down for that.
Okay, episode 7 was the Galileo Hustle. That was about Faye's adoptive mom.
Fuck.
Which was probably like the biggest massacre to her character.
Yeah. Yeah, that episode specifically, I'll get to it. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing for me with that. That's kind of based on what she had with, like, when she woke up and the guy who scammed her. They switch it around to be a mother figure as opposed to a romantic interest. I don't really have an issue with that sort of thing. My issue is, again, with the characters and how they characterize them.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when we talk about Faye. Ooh.
Okay. Episode 8 is called Sad Clown A Go-Go, which is very apt because it's where Vicious takes over the syndicate.
Fuck.
No,
don't call it that. Don't call it that. This is not that because it's not. It was completely undeserved. And this is the Mad Perot episode. I'm good, other than their little let's rhyme about the plan the whole time, I'm good with this episode because it actually felt like they were doing Mad Perot.
Yeah, Mad Perot was okay.
Yeah, it was like he was a freaky clown man, constantly laughing and trying to kill people. It's as simple a plot as you can make it. It was simple in Bebop, and it was effective. And for the most part, I don't think it's as effective as the episode, but it's still pretty good for half an episode.
Well, I was okay with it other than, everything happening with Bishop.
Bishop?
I don't like how easy the elders went down in it. I think that was weird.
It was weird.
They went down easy in the original show too, but you
could believe
that's
it.
because Vicious was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vicious was already like a force to be fucked with. We didn't have that established in this.
No.
Because it's not a thing. It can't be established
he is
because
not
it's
a
not a thing.
badass.
Okay. Moving on, episode 9 was Blue Crow Waltz, which was the flashback
episode.
The flashback of how Spike and Vicious got to where they are. Okay. Julia.
I'm gonna be real. This episode had a lot of potential because one of the few things that's never really explained in Bebop is Spike and Vicious's past. We get the cliff notes of work together, used to be friends, I stole your girlfriend, you tried to kill us both. And then I'm on the lam. This kind of expands on it, and I'm gonna say this, crazily enough, in the first 5 minutes, I believed what was happening. Where I was actually like, okay, I can see why he's friends with Vicious. And I'm wondering what path it took to turn him into even more of a monster. That's how I would be if this was the actual show. But, he still ends up being just a fucking piece of
it was the daddy
trash.
Issues that ruined it for me.
Yeah. Overall, though.
I actually, overall enjoyed that episode. I feel like if it wouldn't have been Vicious specifically...
Right.
As a plot, it was really solid.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit. If it hadn't been specifically this Vicious, because I think that's part of the problem. If this was a story, if they had done this episode in the original series, it probably would be one of the most interesting ones. And they could probably keep a lot of the same elements, trim the fat, cut some of the dumb daddy issue bullshit, but...
and this made
temper tantrums like a child.
Yeah,
this made Spike look really bad.
It did,
the way that he just
Mister, I'm gonna sleep with your girl,
and she was traumatized in the moment.
How did they do it? They did it. They don't really explain it. They show it mostly in just still images and whatnot.
It was so weird though.
No, I mean in the original show.
Oh, in the
original show was they got to know each other. They were all friends.
Were all I felt like he barely knew Julia in this one. That was the problem.
Yeah, they met 3 times.
She was just the
Julia
girlfriend.
was a part of the syndicate in the original.
Yeah, or at the very least, close enough related that it's so it's I know people.
I could understand them being friends and falling in love with each other, even when she was with Vicious. But in this, it felt like, oh, this is your friend that I've seen 3 times, and now something horrible happened, and we're gonna fall in bed together for some reason. It was just so weird
because the plot needed it to happen. Fucking hell. But, it did allow enough of humanization for Vicious. If I think about it from the original standpoint, because Vicious is not human at all in the original series. And that's part of what makes him so intimidating. But to show an element of, he is a person, and he did have relationships before whether he was always this way or whether he became something... It could have added something, but the problem is it's attached to this series, which has already assassinated the character of Vicious and a bunch of other people.
No, I do see what you're saying now. Okay, I will agree with that. If it would have been the original series Vicious, this still would have worked.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, the scene where they're pretending to be janitors, I like that scene. It reminded me of Pulp Fiction.
I really liked this episode, even with the temper tantrums and daddy issues.
Yeah, they have some good action. There's some interesting stuff here. Spike has that one shot. He takes out everybody at the other crime thing. There's good stuff here. The problem is it's still attached to a series that has already kind of completely gone off the rails. And there's no saving it at this point. But yeah, they were like Vincent and Jules at the beginning of Pulp Fiction. They're just talking about whatever. We're doing this. Blah, blah, blah. All right, let's kill the guy. That was actually good. Why couldn't the rest of the show be like this?
Talking about things that can't be saved, that would bring us to episode 10, which was our church scene, and they butchered the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Ballad of Fallen Angels, if I'm not mistaken.
In the rain.
Ooh,
you did not earn that. I don't think that's what it was called in this one.
What?
I don't think it was called Ballad of Fallen Angels for this.
No, I probably wasn't.
The list down,
but
I mean, the problem is that they're trying to condense. They're basically trying to do the mid-season finale from the original show as well as the finale at the same time, and it just that doesn't work.
It was called Supernova Symphony.
Yeah, because no one would have accepted being called Ballad of Fallen Angels. That's not what it is.
Definitely fell apart.
It was fucking trash from start to finish. And coming off such a good episode like 9, it just hit worse.
I don't want to talk about it just yet. Can we move on?
So, do you basically just want to break down each character for how much they were massacred? Because we said Gren, then we said Faye, then we said Vicious. I feel like Vicious is going to be the big one. So,
there's varying degrees to the big one. Maybe, I don't know. God, what were we?
Maybe just get the good things out of the way because there aren't many. I feel like maybe just aesthetically, visually, it was really, really good.
Yeah, the production
but
of this
I don't
is pretty
think
good.
There are any other pluses.
Yeah, it looked okay for the most part.
Yeah, it looked about how I expected that a Bebop show should look. The effects were okay for the most part. I mean, it's Netflix. There's always going to be some wonky spots with the CG and stuff like that. But, for the most part, pretty good. Pretty good.
I think maybe the Dutch angles were a little much.
They did have quite a few of them. Some of them worked.
Yeah, sometimes, I don't know. It just had an overall cheesiness that, once again, I didn't really appreciate.
Yeah. Again, I think this stems back to the people who made this didn't like the show.
Yeah, I feel like Cowboy Bebop feels a little bit more artistic than this does.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something a little lacking in creativity, but I think on the surface, they got a lot of the aesthetics right, but it kind of lacked any real
Bebop-esque
creativity
stuff
with it. I don't know. It's they just copied some shots. It's almost how I feel about the way Zack Snyder adapted Watchmen.
Yeah. I can see that. I think I enjoyed Watchmen better than this, though.
I did too, but that's because he adapted it to a T, but without, a lot of the actual depth of Watchmen.
Yeah.
This one, they definitely went off with the plot way more than that one. But I mean, aesthetically, it feels like they took some shots and aesthetics that, on a surface level, look like it for the most part. But I feel like they didn't do anything with it, if that makes sense. They didn't.
It's almost like a fan
film. Yeah, it feels like a fan film.
I feel like a fan film would have been more faithful.
The atmosphere was off. The visuals were on. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, sure. I mean, part of the atmosphere comes from the writing, and we know that's the worst part of this entire endeavor. We talked about the episode length problem, so we might as well get into the character stuff, because that's, probably the biggest problem here.
Yeah, I feel like starting with Gren is a good launching point, because
he doesn't have a fucking character. Sorry, they do not have a fucking character.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. It's just, if they had just made that character and not called them Gren, I would be fine with it. But it's just for the fact that they called them Gren, it bothered me so much, because those were probably my favorite episodes of Cowboy Bebop.
Jupiter Jazz.
Those 2 episodes, yeah. And I loved Gren as a character. I thought he was so interesting.
He was interesting enough that the writers of the original show were like, we need 2 episodes just to tell this story.
And he really stood out to me as a complex character that, I don't know, had a lot of interesting stuff that they just didn't even bother with.
Yeah, they turned this character into just the gay bartender stereotype.
It's why? What was the purpose of even using his name? It just bothered me so much.
They're window
dressing. It was just lip service.
It's barely lip service. It's window dressing. They're there for an aesthetic.
I didn't understand it at all. It's I feel like Jupiter Jazz would have been a really interesting one to adapt.
Especially...
But they didn't want to go there, I guess.
Especially because, whether they do it well or not, they wanted to go into Vicious's backstory.
Yeah, he had connections to Vicious.
So you could have had a plot that had an interesting character, trans representation, built in already. This is before you even have to start adapting. It includes your main villain and his backstory, which you can expand upon in an interesting way. It involves war and the stuff that was going on Titan. There's elements of friendship, betrayal, government experimentation, like revenge story. Plus, they were a great sax player.
Didn't have time for all that.
Could have had some great music in there too. But no, why would you want any of that? No, let's just set them behind a bar or have them introduce some other characters who are also butchered and just be fucking token bullshit.
Yeah.
They said for all of the padding we're doing to, like, lengthen these episodes, we do not have time.
Like, honestly, that's the one where I could have been like, you could have expanded on this plot. I want to see the war on Titan and the stuff that was going on there. That's interesting. That's world building. We could have had a lot of cool stuff with that. And with Gren, and with Vicious, and, like, you just decided, no, we're going to take probably the place with the most expansion potential and just throw it in the trash.
It was very disappointing. That was one of the things that angered me the most, not gonna lie.
Like, what is even like, I don't get why they would even, like, want to include the character if they're not gonna do the character.
It wasn't the character. Name only.
Kinda launching off of that, Annie, I feel like her whole characterization in this was weird.
I didn't have a problem with Annie at all.
To me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the main difference is that she runs a nightclub as opposed to a convenience store.
Yeah, I didn't actually have a problem.
Yeah, but, like, with the nightclub, now she's, like, deeply connected with the syndicate.
I'll be real with you. She was connected with the syndicate in the original show, but it's one of those things of, like, the backstory is more implied, and it's more up to interpretation as opposed to, like, hard set, we're gonna see it all kind of thing. She knows Spike from a long time ago. She knew Julia from a long time ago and is very aware of Vicious and everything that he does. She was involved to some degree.
But it felt like the nightclub was kind of like the syndicate's territory. If that makes sense.
I get that. It does.
Like, she felt more in their pocket to the point where I feel like it didn't make much sense that she was on Spike's side.
I mean, she liked Spike for one thing. She made a bunch of points of being like, I am not part of the syndicate. You want to work here, you want to do stuff here, that's fine, but I am not involved. I think the only reason she's involved with Spike is because she actually likes Spike. I think that's perfectly fine. Again, in the original show, she's not involved with the syndicate anymore, or at the very least is not in deep with them. And she helps out Spike because he's a friend.
They didn't give her a reason to like Spike in this, even with the flashback.
I'm going to throw out there that if, you're meeting a bunch of people from the syndicate, and I'm assuming most of them are like Vicious or some of the other people that we met, Spike is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, they just vibed.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, like, he's not a great Spike, but John Cho, for the most part, can vibe with other people in a scene. I think he's probably a pretty likable guy. I don't have a lot of trouble believing it. Plus, when you have, like, characterization where you're constantly next to Gren.
Yeah, I thought it was okay, definitely, in comparison, and I don't know. It didn't bother me, but Gren bothered me. I don't know.
They didn't have a lot of room to fuck up.
With Annie?
Yeah, Annie doesn't have a lot of deep storylines going. She's involved in the main plot, but it's not like we know a ton about her other than she's kind of tough. And she knows Spike. So there wasn't a whole lot of ways to go wrong. Who's left? We're at the top three? Bottom three?
How do we feel about Julia?
Julia?
I feel like she is intricately connected to Vicious, though, so maybe hold off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Julia, we kind of have to leave until we're ready to go over the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so maybe we get Faye out of the way.
She felt like a child.
She is a child.
She felt like a whiny teenager. I don't know why they decided to go that route. I think maybe I don't know, from the interviews I've read, it seemed like maybe they felt that the femme fatale thing was, like, it didn't
sexist or
age
something.
well. Yeah, maybe they felt that way. But I felt like Faye was always more than that. I didn't feel like she was just a sexist stereotype. So it's like, I just didn't like that they took this route with her. I understand why they did, but I think it was a poor choice, and it really just took her character in a totally different direction that had nothing to do with the original character.
They went so I'm gonna be anti-misogynist that they looped back around to being misogynist.
Right. That's how it felt.
Because, like, a woman can use her sexuality as a weapon.
Yeah, that's exactly what Faye does.
I mean, that's what Faye did in the original show.
Like, that was a huge part of her character.
Yeah.
And, like, I would have agreed to the toning down of, like, her overt sexuality, just, like, when she's hanging out on the Bebop. Like, yeah, give her some pants. That's not a big deal.
Yeah,
but to reduce her to, like, a child throwing tantrums all the time when stuff didn't go her way was weird.
The costume... You go ahead first.
Yeah, the costume thing, if we're gonna go off of that, my main problem with it was that I felt like the black pants totally clashed with the rest of it.
I thought they were brown.
Whatever they were. The brown jacket was also bad. It was like a dark red that looked brown. I just didn't like the way they did the colors. If they had given her yellow pants or something like that and a bright red jacket still, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bothered me, but I also think there isn't a problem with women dressing sexy. That also bothers me too. That, like, oh, just because a woman's showing skin, it's a problem or something. I don't like that attitude. But even if she was wearing pants and it wasn't like her original costume, I would have been fine if the colors matched up.
Yeah, as long as you... Because, like, everyone else is on point.
Yeah.
Like,
but they decided to totally, like, give
colors,
her...
like... Yeah.
This shorts over nylons look. Something I would have worn in high school. I
don't like hate the style of it, but like you said, if you had the colors correct.
Yeah.
Like you went with like these shit brown pants and bloody stool jacket color.
It's just ugly.
And it's supposed to just be like bright red and bright yellow. Like the top works.
Yeah, the top
had you
looks
taken
good.
like the colors for the top and applied them to like the bottom half of the costume.
And
however you want to do that, and they just brighten up the fucking jacket.
it's like the few times she took off the jacket, it looked right.
Yeah.
And then she put it back on.
But then she starts saying things like, yeah, I'm a boob gal.
Yeah, she sounded goofy constantly. I don't know. Or all her lines were cheesy.
Honestly, I'll tell you this. There's only one line that I actually bought that Faye would actually say, and that's where she runs into the diner and is like, here, give me something to drink. What is that? Water? Oh, gross. Beer. Here we go.
Yeah, that was about it.
It was the wrong energy, but I would buy that, yeah, absolutely, Faye would choose alcohol over water.
It kind of felt like her and Spike were, like, dad joking back and forth at each other a lot.
So weird.
Not even remotely what their relationship is supposed to be.
I feel like their relationship's totally different in this one.
So, yeah.
Like, their relationship is supposed to be kind of like a will they, won't they.
Yeah.
I never got that sense personally.
Really? I
No.
totally got that sense.
I feel like Faye liked him at the end of the show, but Spike was just kind of like indifferent because he was like, well, I'm still in love with Julia.
I feel like he was stuck on Julia for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think it was necessarily supposed to be like a romantic thing, but like they definitely wanted to fuck a few times.
Yeah.
I don't think Faye at the end...
chemistry or like tension between them, you know?
I don't think she had romantic feelings for him at the end. I think it was a matter of she had been alone for a very long time, had chosen to be alone for survival reasons, and had finally found other people that she felt she could share a life with, and now one of them is leaving to go die.
No, I agree with that overall. I agree that, like, I think their platonic relationship was much stronger than any, like, sexual tension, but I feel like they still had, like, this playful tension going on, but I feel like it was not like they would ever be together romantically or anything like that.
I think they planted, like, sexual tension there to kind of divert your attention so the Julia reveal could be more impactful.
Maybe.
I don't know that like, they...
Like, you didn't get that vibe from them.
Because here's the thing. That's just both of their personalities.
Yeah, maybe they're just naturally flirty, I don't know.
Spike, with everybody, is, like, joking around. He's the aloof kind of like, oh, I don't really care. It's kind of whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Faye is also, like, that person who's just constantly making jokes or snide remarks or whatever else. So of course those two are just gonna bounce back and forth constantly, whether or not there's any motivation behind
That's
it.
what I'm saying. I don't think there was anything serious in terms of romance there.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt like the vibes were off with this one. I don't know how to explain it, but
I mean, he's
think
twice
what
her age,
we're learning is Al doesn't know when a woman is flirting.
I don't. I know that much, but again, flirting aside, I don't think there's motivation beyond I'm just a flirty person between the two of them.
I think it's lighthearted flirting.
Yeah,
but you can't even see that in this one. And I think part of it is the age gap.
Yeah.
And part of it is she acts even younger than she is.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, oh, this is John Cho and his teenage daughter.
Yeah, that's it. It's just off. It just doesn't feel like they're equals. I don't know.
Felt like she would be a Fortnite streamer.
I've never watched people stream Fortnite, so I can't,
I know exactly what you mean.
Okay. So what bugs me most about this, and what, not just bugs me, pisses me off...
Is it about Faye?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely about Faye. So, look, I think we've established that the people who wrote and created this didn't give a shit about the original show.
Yeah.
The majority of the actors didn't even watch the show. We said Mustafa Shakir is the only person who really gets points here for knowing anything about the show. What bugs me the most... And you can kind of decide for yourself whether, which one is worse. Is it worse to not know what you're writing and then do a bad job? Or is it worse to know that you're not doing it correctly and do it poorly? Because Faye's mom is how Faye should have been acting the whole fucking time.
Right.
Okay? Again, I don't care that they switched around to a mother role instead of a love interest sort of thing. It's whatever to me. The point is that Faye's mom is a con artist in total control of every situation that she is in. And even if she is or not, she gives off the presence of, I know what I'm doing. Even if she doesn't know what she's doing, she knows what she's doing. That is Faye's personality. She's not some whiny teenager who it's the tied to the toilet thing, the handcuff to the toilet thing. It's in both series, and in this one she's like, yeah, fuck you. You know what she was doing in the other one?
I hate how she just goes off on people.
You know what she was doing in the other one? She was like, easy come, easy go. It is what it is. Hey, you gonna let me out of this? No? Okay. I'll let myself out.
She's very calm and collected,
Because she's a survivor. She is the most self-reliant person probably on that team, which is, quite frankly, a team full of fully self-reliant people.
And it's like has to just resort to calling everybody dickwads or whatever in this one for no reason.
Did we even see her really piloting her ship at all?
Once?
A few scenes, yeah.
Yeah. But, that's what bugs me more than anything. If you didn't know how to write this person, and you were just doing it, I don't like it, but I can accept it more than you knew how to write this person and chose specifically not to.
I'm telling you, I think they thought that she was a misogynistic character, so they were like, we're gonna rewrite her into one that people can quote-unquote relate to, and they just made her suck.
So we can't relate to a person who's gone through trauma and has felt betrayed throughout most of their life and has closed themselves off to everyone and then has found people that maybe they can find themselves opening up to over time. No one can relate to that?
I'm not saying they're right. I'm saying that's their mindset.
I think the thing about Faye and her character being a femme fatale was that sex was the weapon used against her. Sex and love.
Yeah.
For that guy to scam her. So it made sense for her, who didn't remember anything, to then turn around and then also weaponize that.
Yeah. I thought that made sense for her. I think it added to her character. I thought it was interesting. I had no problem with that, and I think most, if not all, fans loved her the way she was.
Yeah.
But they weren't making this for the fans. They're making this for some mainstream Netflix audience that they thought wanted to see that. What?
They were making it for an easy paycheck.
Yeah.
Netflix was trying to make it for that audience.
And also, what Yin was talking about earlier about how they didn't get the vibe of Spike from John Cho. That goes double for me for the actress. I haven't seen her in much. I know she was in the Jurassic World films, so I can't really judge her for that either. But she does not give Faye off at all.
No.
Like,
I mean,
she's, yeah. Al brought me to tears when he said this. Tamara Chambers from the Nostalgia Critic, and I was like, I can't unsee it now. That's what she reminds me of.
Yeah, no, she does, yeah. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, like you, I saw her in a bit part in a Jurassic World sequel, and I think she's been on the CW for a while, but that's not exactly a ringing endorsement for anything.
Nah.
And I mean, then she had that thing on Twitter, which doesn't really go to her acting ability, but, like, I don't know about, whether studios are going to be like, oh, yeah, we definitely want you on a project now. So, like, I don't...
Do you mean where she just blew up about the fans?
Yeah, like...
I don't know.
I
just think, yeah, she doesn't give me Faye energy.
Like, my thing is, I don't want to call her a bad actress, but I just don't know. She might be.
It's hard to tell.
She might just be making all the wrong decisions, or have terrible direction, or both. I mean, we'll talk about Vicious eventually.
Everyone, for the most part, aside from Jet, seemed bad in this, so maybe it is just the direction. I don't know.
I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
For now.
Okay. Do we want to go Julia or Vicious?
Do we have anything else for Faye? Any other?
No.
I don't think so.
I think that was the main of it.
Yeah. Good God.
I mean, Julia leads from Vicious. I might as well get Vicious out of the way.
Before we do that, did I already talk about the episode with Jet's backstory stuff?
Yeah.
Not in depth.
Okay. So why I said I liked the Jet stuff for the most part, but also hated the episode? For one thing, at least going off the Jet storyline, doesn't have any impact whatsoever. Mostly because I have no idea who this fucking villain is. Like, part of it was like, in the original show, the whole episode was about Jet. The whole episode was about this criminal that was involved in the day that he lost his arm. And his partner, and all this other stuff. But I think because of the stuff that they were tying in with his wife is shacked up with this other guy, and he has a daughter, and all those other things, and then his old partner, but he thinks that other guy is dirty, but he's not, and all this other crap. And the absolute fuckfest of shit that we got from Spike and Faye in that episode, we end up not feeling any stakes by the time that that he's going up against the escaped criminal.
Honestly, like, this episode and the Scratch episode are the ones I tuned out the most.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand that.
There was just no hook holding my attention.
And there really should be. This is a noir detective revenge story and a, like, cerebral thriller episode. These two episodes. They should be hooking you in. But they load it up with so much extra bullshit that is unnecessary and weighs the story down too much. The whole goddamn time with Spike and Faye just sitting there, going back and forth like, well, I think we should go to this one. Well, I think we should go to this one. Guess what? They're all going because you're sitting there on your asses.
Oh,
and then we get to the end.
Well, I took down a bigger one.
And then we get to the end. They kill the bad guy. Turns out his partner was the crooked cop all along, which, if you watched the show, you already knew, but you could have still had a solid reveal there. Just, what a disappointment. That's Jet's best episode. The
betrayal didn't feel very... Like, it didn't feel like a climax.
Yeah, because it wasn't. Because it fucking wasn't. Like, this should have been the best episode. They're adapting the best Jet Black episode. And the best character in this show is Jet.
Yeah.
It should have been the best. And it failed miserably. Just sad. Speaking of failing miserably, should we move on to Vicious and Julia?
Yeah. I think Vicious first, because we can address that without the spoiler of the finale.
No one gives a shit about spoilers at this point. This show's done and over with. Vicious sucks.
So yeah.
He sucks so hard. Like, I really was debating in my head a little bit, like, who's worse? The portrayal of Vicious or the portrayal of Faye? Julia is a tangential thing. She is only bad because Vicious is so bad. Julia barely had a fucking character in the original show. I will say that. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
She was a MacGuffin and a plot device more than anything else. And honestly, expanding on her character should have been a good thing, and it just wasn't.
You know, she was fridged for his man pain.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate.
And they were obviously trying to reverse that, but the ending messed it up for me.
Yeah.
Julia was, at the very least, portrayed as, like, you know, semi-capable because she was Syndicate originally.
Yeah.
And this, for most of the way through, she was a damsel in distress, constantly crying about nothing.
Yeah.
Like...
yeah, and it's hard to understand why she was with Vicious.
Was the singer thing even a thing in the original? I don't think it was.
No, she did sing, and that was a thing that attracted Spike to her, but it was more of just like I sing while I like do things around the house kind of thing. It was a little personality trait as opposed to a career.
She was singing as he was like healing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was like a big thing for him. But
not, I'm gonna be with Vicious because he can advance my career. Like, what?
I don't even think that was a thing. I think, like, she did have a genuine...
It's like she liked him for some reason.
Look, I'm gonna say this. It was episode 9.
She don't like him that much.
It was episode... Okay, yeah.
No.
Look, episode 9 did give us a little bit of some scenes with Vicious where I'm like, okay, I understand how you guys were friends, at least. Before you became whatever
But do you understand why she liked him?
She kept shooting him down. That was part of the episode.
Yeah, at first, you eventually did start dating him. Like, I think part of it was like, oh, he has a lot of money. He can take me a lot of places. I don't want to call her gold diggers. I don't think that was it. I think he eventually ingratiated himself a little bit to her. And I think over time, she was like, yeah, this guy's okay. Ooh, that's Spike, though. But then after everything went down, it's basically like, oh, I am trapped here. Because he's going to kill me the moment I leave.
Yeah,
but I'm still in love with Spike.
Yeah, she very much went from sexy lamp. No, that's a little much, I guess. Fridged is definitely
lamp?
true, but she's not a lamp. She has a little bit more personality than that in the original show. But yeah, she goes from fridge to bird in a cage. And then they I guess they really like season 8 of Game of Thrones because, like, hey, let's just do a complete 180 with your personality right at the end.
So at the very end, Julia betrays Spike after he defeated Vicious.
Yeah.
So she can take over the Syndicate.
Ugh.
You didn't rescue me quick enough.
My master plan all along was that I was always going to take over the Syndicate.
See, I could accept that if they had laid any groundwork at all in earlier episodes. Because we see her in a number of episodes with Vicious and with the Syndicate, and she talks to people and whatnot, and it means nothing other than, like, I guess one time she was like, what if you just killed Vicious when he tried to kill everybody else? That's one time. This was your master, and you have some sort of master plan? I don't believe this for a second. You gave us nothing to suggest this.
In the episode... when the car crashes as she's trying to get away or whatever, you know, she was still very much damseling in that moment, but, like, they very much gave off the vibes of, I'm going back for Spike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not, I'm going back to become the true crime lord.
See, I feel like we've talked in length about how a lot of things today, like those DC cartoon movies, will take like things from the comic and twist them to make it like, oh, you didn't expect this even if you read the comic. And it's like, I feel like that's what this was.
It didn't work.
Yeah, I feel like this was trying to surprise people who watched Cowboy Bebop to be like, ooh, bet you didn't see that coming.
No,
but
we didn't,
so
because
dumb.
it's fucking dumb.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like everybody, when they're adapting popular things, wants to do that. They want to shock the audience or something.
I think part of the problem is the internet. Everyone has access to the internet, and everyone has access to somebody who's read the original thing, and blah, blah, blah. Anytime a Marvel movie comes out, it's like you get 50 different sites going, here's the top 20 things you need to know before Doctor Strange, or before the next Avengers, or whatever. And here's from the trailer all the Easter eggs, and we've gotten the whole plot, and blah, blah, blah. Now, occasionally, they switch things up, they change things up, they defy expectation in a good way, but a lot of times, especially... like, not for the Marvel stuff, because there's so much canon you can work with there that you can do whatever you want. But for something that's, like, actually, like, here's a specific story. It was written for this period of time. It has this plot specifically, and you want to adapt it.
Just adapt it.
Yes. Changing things, changing big, major plot points is just going to piss on the rest of the story.
Right. To me, it's just...
Go ahead.
It's one of those things where I think... what fans really want to see is they want to see it adapted well, like how it is in the books. And it's like, the reason that people love this, like, they can rewatch it over and over again, and it doesn't matter if you already know what happens, because it's just a good story.
Plenty of people reread books and shit, like, for that reason.
Like, why do we have to be surprised at all? But I feel like they want that all the time in these new adaptations, and I don't understand why.
They want people to talk about, and they want people to like, whoa,
I
plot
mean,
twist.
it's the subverting your expectations meme.
Yeah.
I feel like most of these, like, twists that they throw in to try and be like M. Night Shyamalan, like, at least most of the time they take, like, one thread of actual, like, canon to subvert your expectations and go off of that. Which they could have done here if they had maintained that Julia was, like, an agent of the Syndicate.
Yeah. That would have been good. That's what I'm saying. Like, you could have foreshadowed this by having her talk to other people. She talks to people other than Vicious in the show. She talks to other Syndicate members, yet at no point up until the end do we get any sort of major thing for her being like, I have eyes on the throne. She's just the damsel the whole fucking show, and then at the end she's the mastermind of it all.
I guess I guess the thing I would say for me from what I got is that she was emotionally and sometimes physically abused by Vicious for all that time, and she thought she thought that Spike would save her, but then when he didn't immediately go after her, she felt hurt by that. So she's like, you know what? I'm tired of being second fiddle. I'm going to run the show now. And she saw her opportunity to pretty much say, oh, well, I'm just going to pretend you're alive. Or I'm going to pretend you're dead, but I'm going to keep you alive because, well, I'm going to be you're basically going to be a puppet. That's basically it. And she saw
that's the whole thing.
Like,
it's whatever. I'm
like,
fine.
Her revenge on Vicious was okay. It was more her with the whole takeover thing.
Because I think I think she feels like she wants to be in charge now. She's tired of being second fiddle, so she wants to be number one, I guess.
She was never even a fiddle.
Her whole characterization throughout the Netflix series was about how much she wanted to get away from Vicious and escape the Syndicate. So it doesn't make any sense for her to turn around and be like,
I'm not saying it makes
actually,
sense.
I'm Queen Bee.
I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just trying. That's my only way to try and rationalize it.
No. I think you're absolutely right. But you actually have to establish that in your show. Like, this is the thing with Game of Thrones. A bunch of people predicted what was going to happen by the end of it, because the internet is a vast place that allows for so many ideas, and eventually someone's going to come up with the right one. So, in a panic, they were like, oh, well, everyone knows what the ending's going to be. They're not going to like it if they know what it is. Even if we've established it throughout the entire fucking show. So, we have to write something that they won't expect.
I'm going to argue with you there because...
Go for it.
George R.R. Martin, like, that is the ending he wanted. So
I know he gave them the plot points. I know that. I have read all 5 books.
She was supposed to go mad.
I know.
And get into that.
But the problem is she's not doing it. She's not doing it throughout the earlier seasons. We have nothing to suggest that she's turning into another mad queen.
Most of her loss was in that last season.
Yes, the episode before she goes mad.
It was super random.
She goes crazy in the previously on Game of Thrones.
I feel like they might have told George R.R. Martin to say that that's how it ended just to, like, save their asses.
Here's the thing.
No, because, his other stuff, he is following up on the Targaryen madness.
Yeah. I've read the books. The man does do a lot of world building, a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of setup. He's good with that. I guarantee you, the plot points that they hit in that season, in those later seasons, would be in the books if they're ever written.
But they were, like, spread out more. Because they weren't shoving them into one season, you know?
At the same time, it's like, you can know the places you're supposed to go, but how you get there is up to you. And I think the problem with Game of Thrones is how they got to the real plot points.
I think they gave up.
No, they did. Absolutely. They did fucking give up. And yeah. But we have the same problem here. I think I saw an interview with George R.R. Martin where he actually brought up, you know, when you change things at the last minute because someone predicted it. Like, he was talking about, like, oh, if you're writing a mystery novel where there's a murder and the butler did it, but before you're finished, someone on the internet comes up like, hey, the butler did it. You can't then change it to the maid did it because now nothing in the earlier part makes sense.
Yeah.
But people keep falling into that. You mentioned the DC animated movies. Fucking Hush.
Hush.
Why was it the Riddler? Because he was mentioned 2 times in the original thing? No. Make it fucking...
Hush.
Yes. What was his name? Elliot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're severely off track here.
No, we're exactly on track, because this is the problem. They think they know better than what the original show did. And they don't.
Yeah, I'd agree that was the worst thing with Julia, for sure.
It's not even they knew better. Like, it would have worked if they would have just kept her character.
Yeah.
Like, if they wanted to throw this twist in, keep the original Julia. If they wanted to change Julia's character, then just leave that twist part out. It was wholly unnecessary.
Yep.
Also, if we're talking about, like, the last episode kind of mischaracterization, I hate how they did Jet in that last episode.
Yeah.
I don't remember. What was he doing?
He still feels like...
He told Spike to go die.
Yeah, he hates
for his
Spike.
Daughter.
Look, part of that is that, again, the relationships are not correct here. Jet knew about Spike's past in the original.
Yeah.
And, like, we're doing that whole liar reveal thing.
It had been longer.
Like, what the hell? And I mean, and another part of this... You had a theory about the family thing. About the daughter. Do you want to bring that up?
About the daughter?
Why they gave him a daughter? Because it makes intimidating black men more approachable,
Yeah, why
do
they do that every single time? There's like a strong, like, more quote-unquote intimidating black man in any movie. They're like, we have to give him a little daughter so that he seems like quote-unquote nicer. It just annoys me so much.
Yeah.
Like, they do that a lot of DC movies.
Yeah, Deadshot and the other one.
Works for Jet, though.
I feel like it worked okay, but it just, like, feels kind of icky to me. Like, just that I feel like they're doing it for that reason.
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't make enough sense for Jet's character, but at the same time, yeah, it's like one of those, like, this is happening enough that, like, there's an ulterior...
There's a pattern.
Yeah, there's a pattern behind this.
I think they also wanted to establish that maybe he was good with children before Ed was brought in.
But, like, why?
Do you need to?
Why?
You could have had
Jet was kind of like a good father figure for
But he
Ed.
can be anyway.
Yeah,
That's why I'm like, can't, like, he have, like, a soft side without being like, oh, he has a little daughter the whole time. I
feel like you could have literally had a scene with him back in the day as a cop, and, like, some kid's parents got murdered or something, and he just, like, does the Jim Gordon thing, where he's like, hey, it's gonna be okay, kind of thing. Like,
It just
that's an
almost
easy enough
feels
thing.
like a save the cat thing, but there should be no cat to save. Like, there should be no reason.
Well, here's the other reason
to
that...
do that.
So were you okay with him in the series still like being in love with his wife then?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, of course.
It worked.
Like, I feel like this is kind of down the same vein.
It is.
No, I'm just talking about media as a whole. I'm not talking about
part of it.
Jet as the character.
Okay.
I'm talking about a pattern that I see in recent movies doing that. But I think for Jet, it was fine in this specific instance. I'm just talking about a media thing.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but part of the other reason that we had the daughter is so that Faye wouldn't get kidnapped during Battle of the Fallen Angels.
Yeah, that
Because
too.
she can't...
She can't be kidnapped because that would make her look weak or something.
Well, not only that, I feel like Jet wouldn't have had a strong enough connection to be like,
He didn't.
hey, Spike,
He wasn't
go
there.
die for her.
He wasn't fucking there in the original show. Spike
Again,
showed up.
My whole hammer home point about this was that Jet's characterization right there at the end. Like, he never forgave Spike. He was still like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah, that's just one of those, like, we have to end in a really dark place so that people are like, well, what's going to happen next?
Well,
And then it
I
never
think it was more of the... Again, I'm not saying it's good writing, but I think the rationale behind it was... A, his daughter was nearly killed. B, he lied. It was the liar reveal trope. And C, it basically ended where, yeah, the mother and the stepdad is never going to trust him to watch her daughter again, so he basically lost his daughter. So, like, a combination of all three of those things, it's like, yeah, pal, if I ever see
She
you again...
was kidnapped from the mother's home.
It doesn't matter. That's basically thinking you're a danger to my daughter now. I'm never going to trust you with her again, basically. Because the dad was already a dick waffle that wanted to be her real dad and not ever let him see her again. So that was just pretty much the excuse he needed. So I think it was a combination of all three of those things. That's why, to me, it made...
It doesn't work for Jet. Even when Jet is personally, like, hurt and destroyed by something, he doesn't take that out on others.
No.
That's, like, a huge thing about him.
Yeah, that's part of his characterization, is his internalized guilt and regret. I mean,
He's still, like, a cop at heart.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's kind of the big thing about, like, every character on the Bebop. Not this one, in the original one. They're all broken people, broken in different ways, who are putting up facades to pretend like they're not. Spike is a man who got destroyed his past, has no future, and is simply living in the present in a nebulous state. But he puts on this persona of this aloof, cool guy who just, yeah, I don't care about it, it's fine. Faye is a broken, abandoned person who doesn't know who she is, but puts on this demeanor of the person who's always in control, because she isn't. Jet, again, guy full of regret, feels guilt over the decisions that he's made because he's hurt other people's lives, not just his own. But he puts on this face of like, oh, I'm the veteran who's seen it all and knows exactly what he's doing, even though no one listens to him. Even Ed. Like, we can't really talk much about the portrayal of Ed here because they're there for like 2 seconds. But like Ed's an abandoned child who feels neglected and is constantly looking for a family because they were abandoned. But they put on this persona of this goofy, like, crazy, quirky kid, probably to get attention because they don't get it from their actual parent. But they all come together and the facades can fall away because they can be themselves with each other. And that's what we get by the end of that last episode, where we talk about Spike's eye, where Faye threatens to shoot him if he leaves. The facades are gone. And they are just exposed people exposed to one another. But we don't get any of that. We don't get to have that and this kind of nuance in this show.
I mean, like, for that finale, like, it was really, like, I was already kind of, like, you know, going into it, like, with Jet being very combative with Spike, and, like, he would never be the person to hold someone's past against them like that.
No.
And then we hit the Julia betrayal, and I'm just like, man, what the fuck?
I feel like we haven't even talked about Vicious yet.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think Vicious is so easy to sum up.
He's like Viserys from Game of Thrones. Or Joffrey.
Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit. Sure. I'll say this. I'll give him one compliment. Good introduction in the first episode. Because he didn't say a fucking word. It's literally...
Then he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
Moshi moshi.
He literally... They just, like, they walk in on him. He kind of just looks at them and is like, Fearless is back. He cuts a guy's head off, and he walks out. That was pretty vicious.
Did he use the katana in the final fight?
He did. They did do the thing where, like, the sword gun fighting, all that stuff.
Just didn't feel as cool.
God,
yeah, it felt so badass in the original.
Yeah. Something was missing.
He was a fucking force of nature in the original.
Yeah, and this one, he was just so lame.
Yeah, they gave him daddy issues. They had him have his ass kicked a whole bunch of times. They made him a whiny little bitch. And it didn't help that the actor had decided that his big acting choices were going to be vicious in every scene will either be shitting his pants, ejaculating, or both.
He was
his
mugging
faces
so hard.
Oh my god.
Maybe one of the reasons I don't really remember, like, the climatic scene of that is because in the anime, Vicious felt like a character who could fight a gun with a katana.
Mm-hmm.
He did not in this, and I don't think he did.
Which
and
also...
when they get to the scene where, he kills all the elders and takes control, like, it doesn't feel like it's the same character doing that.
No, it's totally unearned. And you basically... It's the same thing that they did with Julia. You basically betrayed them as one thing throughout this entire show. And now you suddenly want us to believe that they are something completely different. You had Julia be a caged bird, damsel in distress for the entire show, but now she's the mastermind behind it all. Then you have Vicious being a whipped little daddy's boy the whole show. And then suddenly he's a badass who can kill anyone ever.
Well, no. So I think it's worse because leading up to episode 8, where at the end he, like, kills all the elders, we had nothing to go off of besides him throwing temper tantrums. And then he pulls out one supposedly badass moment where he kills all the elders. And then you go straight into the flashback where he's, like, not a capable person at all.
Yep.
He was all over the place.
You know what part of it is? They didn't show Vicious much in the original show.
Yeah, he was overused a bit in this one.
Yeah. And I think that allows to leave an air of mystery and stuff. It's kind of like Darth Vader in A New Hope.
Yeah.
He's not in the movie that much until, like, except at, like, the beginning and the end. There's one or two scenes here and there, but anytime he's there, he is showing some form of strength, cunning, or just ruthlessness.
I think here they were trying to add layers to his character, but I don't know if he was a character that needed many layers.
I'm an ogre.
I mean, going into the show, I knew they were going to focus more on the syndicate aspect, and I think in theory that could have worked, but... So...
I think part of, like, the thing is, why did you decide to take him in that direction when there was already potential for other things? We talked about already the flashback thing. It kind of worked in some spots because I was like, even in the original show, I'm kind of like, okay, how are Vicious and Spike friends? Because they're like, Spike is a person and Vicious is a monster. Like, where's the connection there?
I just thought of this, and you know what their relationship could have been like, even though they're... I know these characters are brothers, but, again, personality-wise, they could have done Dante and Virgil with them. Vicious act like Virgil, Spike act like Dante personality wise.
Maybe, but like the main thing is like, you know, you could have shown him have a personality. Maybe we see the darkness in him still, but like, you know, he also has other aspects to him. But by the end of it, the darkness kind of takes over and is the main driving force behind him, which makes him this Darth Vader force of nature monster that we know him from the original series. You could have even included that, again, with Gren's backstory and the Titan stuff. You could have had him befriend him and then betray him and have it mean nothing to him. You could show, like, maybe he is nice to people. Maybe he does have friends. Maybe he did have friends. But ultimately, he's a sociopath and it meant nothing to him, and he betrayed them in an instant.
Yeah.
There's a number of things you could do to make this character work a lot better, and none of them were utilized. But that would also require you to actually like the show. But
if they had just held on to having like the mentor to Spike and Vicious, who Vicious then betrayed with the rival syndicate, like I feel like that would have been like a good enough moment to kind of launch the sociopathicness off of in this one.
Yeah. Like that, you could reinforce it with Gren. You could do a number. I kind of just want Gren to have a better story.
I think it would have helped bolster Vicious a little bit. I think you're right.
Yeah. Because, like,
but instead they kind of just wasted it.
Like, again, what if he just, like, put on different personalities as necessary to work his way up through the syndicate? Like, I'm working for this person. I'm going to become the person that you like. I'm going to mirror the thing that you like to become that person, and then I'm going to use you. And the moment that I don't need you anymore, that personality is gone. I am back to my evil, like, dead inside self as I'm moving my way up.
Instead, they had it so he would throw a tantrum, do something stupid, and then Spike would have to go clean up the mess.
Yeah, he's a fucking daddy's boy. I genuinely don't think the Vicious from the original show had a father or a mother. I think he was just birthed by the void.
Tube?
He was Anakin.
He was a monster birthed by the void, and he was amazing for it. Do we have anything else on Vicious? Again, Vicious. I will say this. I think I said this before. The Vicious Fearless thing, I think, is a decent enough addition. Because, you know, even though in the original show he does pull it off, who the fuck calls their kid Vicious? Who names someone Vicious? Like, in the original show, Vicious is the only non-drag queen who can pull off that name. But
also, like, the Syndicate never felt like a family-oriented thing, so...
No, but, like, you could see how, like, you could still have people work their way up through nepotism, which is absolutely how Vicious got to his position.
In this one, but, like, not in the original.
And that's fine. That also, lends more merit to Vicious working his way up through it. But, like, specifically to the codename thing, like, having Vicious be, like, a name, a title, essentially, I think works a little bit better.
Except it doesn't fit him at all in this.
No, but now I can actually believe why he has it. Why this version of him at least got the name.
But why did this version of him get the name?
Nepotism.
How was it bestowed on him?
Nepotism. Daddy bought him a title. Spike earned his.
And it was Vicious?
Look, I have to assume that the Syndicate has a number of titles for upper level people who are like, or hitmen kind of things that are like just adjectives. Vicious,
I got the sense
fearless.
These were specific names bestowed on them for their personality traits.
Maybe. I don't know.
But I could be wrong.
It could be a number of things, but like I'm assuming that you just get a code name.
I feel like rich, entitled white boys are usually pretty vicious and cruel.
That's fair. You know what? Vicious doesn't necessarily also equate to effective.
Yeah, maybe it's just like...
Yeah. A chihuahua is vicious.
Just recklessly vicious.
It doesn't mean that it's particularly dangerous. Like, his name isn't dangerous.
Dangerous? Can you imagine?
Moshi Moshi, this is dangerous. This is turning into an Austin Powers thing. I'm kind of into it.
Hilarious. Vicious.
You know what I want? I want Vicious to be in the next Austin Powers movie, if they ever make one, and I want him to play it exactly the same way. I want him to have the exact same name, same tone, same everything, because you know what? He's gonna fucking fit.
You're right.
It's their long lost cousin.
He's like the henchman or the main bad guy. He's like, I'm vicious. I'm horny, baby. I just think
he was just ridiculous.
That honestly it would just be so hilarious because he's so self-serious the whole time and yet so pathetic that it's like there's so much comedy there. I don't know. Do I want to rewatch a bunch of Vicious scenes just for the comedy? Maybe I do now.
Just make memes of all his faces.
How did he not become a bigger meme?
The scene where the elders, like, hobbled him by, like, oh, kill Julia, and he, like, got super bent out of shape. Like, that's not Vicious.
No.
No,
that was pretty pathetic, and that kind of set the tone. I was like, oh, first episode, he has that quick intro, and I'm like, oh, maybe Vicious is going to be good. And they have the second episode where that happens. I'm like, oh.
No.
I guess not. Wow. Really took him down like 20 pegs. And then I bet he got pegged a couple times.
Oh, most definitely. Spike definitely had to go save him more than once.
Yep.
So was he the worst character assassination?
See, I'm going back again. I think the main argument is between Faye and Vicious. Julia is a result of Vicious.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So
I would agree with you if you were to try and say it was Gren, because you're right. They've really...
There was nothing there.
Well,
yeah.
Part of me saying that that's not the worst is because it's simply not Gren. Like, that is just another character named Gren.
Does that make it worse or better? I don't know.
Which would make it the worst.
Maybe.
Like, there are... With all of these character flaws we're finding, there are solutions that we're offering up that could have made it work.
That's fair.
For Gren, there's nothing.
There's no solution. Just change it completely.
Just change the name. It's not Gren.
I feel really bad for the actor. I don't know whether they're any good or not.
I feel like the actor probably could have played Gren as Gren, I hope.
Well, like, part of it is, I don't know whether they're any good or not. We didn't really see them do a whole lot.
I think they were cast in the Sandman show. I'm interested in that.
Oh.
But I haven't seen it yet.
Do you know what they're cast as?
Were they cast as, what was it called?
Delirium? Desire?
Was it Desire?
The androgynous one?
I think it was Desire.
Or was that
Delirium? I don't remember. I think it was Desire.
Okay. All right, that'll be interesting. Maybe they are good, but that like makes me feel even worse for them that they could have had such a meaty role and got nothing.
They got nothing.
Like, I genuinely hope that actor.
Desire.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. That could be interesting, or it could be terrible. I have no idea. I don't know who's work. We'll talk about it later.
I mean, I thought the trailer looked interesting, but anyway, off of Sandman, I think that really there's not much of a way to judge the actor because they just didn't get anything with this role.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like Gren would have added something, if they had actually used Gren as a character, would have added something to the show.
Again,
and it's a little disappointing they didn't utilize them at all.
I'm going to assume that because, again, 90% of the cast didn't watch the show, I'm assuming that they did not either. And I hope that they never do, because then they're going to find out what they could have played. and they're going to be like, why didn't I get to play that? I don't know.
Yeah, it was just so random to just choose that character's name and just tack on a random character onto it.
It's not random. It felt very pointedly like we don't care about this character at all. But we're going to pretend like we care so we can get woke points.
It was strange. I don't know.
It's tokenism. They're the token, queer, whatever. I guess you can kind of count Faye there a little bit too, but whatever.
Yeah, and I think that was fine for Faye. They just ruined everything else with her. But...
Yep.
But I just...
I mean, in correlation to Gren, I feel like maybe... a huge source of disappointment is how good the original Jupiter Jazz episodes were.
Yeah.
Again, they decided 2 episodes because they needed that much story time. That says something about your character and your story.
And I feel like
And
there's some interesting stuff with Faye there, too.
Yeah.
That was the one where, we really kind of figured out, like, Spike was willing to die, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was a whole lot of stuff going on for a whole lot of people, and that's why it was 2 episodes. You had backstory stuff, you had character arcs, you had revenge, you had anger. There was a lot of emotions going on in that episode.
What's considered the best episode of Cowboy Bebop?
That is going to be such a subjective question.
Oh, okay. So there's no... Because sometimes in an anime, there's like a definitive episode that everybody's like, this is the best episode.
I think it would probably be either The Ballad of Fallen Angels or the last episode.
Okay.
Like, really thinking about, like, what are the most iconic
Yeah.
parts?
Yeah,
Like, it's either the fall out of the window or bang.
Favorite?
You're right.
I
Like-
think favorite would be a lot more subjective.
Yeah, but all the episodes are good.
I mean, they're all good. I just wasn't sure what's like that iconic episode that everybody's like, this is probably the best one.
Probably Ballad.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Probably.
No, it's clearly the episode where they get high on shrooms.
Yeah, that one.
That's iconic in different ways. I think the only one that people would be like, this is not the best episode that you could definitively say is probably Boogie Woogie Feng Shui.
Yeah, that one seems to be the most,
It's
like, people don't like it
not
as much.
Bad. It's the Great Divide from Avatar. It's just not
It's not as
the
good.
same standard as everything else.
What is that one?
It's like the 22nd or 24th episode. Boogie Woogie Feng Shui is the one where Jet meets the daughter of an old friend of his, and the dad went missing in a warp gate or something, and they have to use like a weird feng shui compass.
Yeah. Yep.
It's weird. It's kind of like, it just doesn't feel like the rest of the show for the most part. Not in a good way. Like every episode feels different because it's kind of tackling different genres and doing different musical styles.
Yeah,
and doing
like
a bunch of different stuff, but
that's like a really bad kind of rap to get for a series where each episode can kind of be its own standalone thing.
yeah, it's definitely the weakest episode. And then it eventually is followed by Ed leaving, I think, which is a big episode.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe it's 23 then. Or is it 22? I'm forgetting. Like, it's right around Cowboy Andy, which is one of my favorites. I've said that already. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten out the feelings that I had to get out.
I think maybe we should talk about Ed for a minute here, just because.
Oh, yeah.
Just for a minute, because that's all the screen time they get.
I think the weirdest thing with Ed was that they didn't include them earlier. Like, what was the point of having Ed, like, just at the end instead of them
They were
being
trying to season bait.
Well, here's the thing, too. Going in, when they initially revealed the cast, they never revealed Ed, so pretty much everybody in interviews were saying, is Ed coming into the show? Is Ed going to be in the show? And everyone was asking that, and the creators and the cast were like, oh, we don't know. So basically it was like, oh, see, we have Ed. She's in it for a post-credit scene, and the actress was bullied to shit afterward, but,
Yeah,
hey.
like, I feel like maybe that's one of the reasons I want to talk about it, because, like, that actress did get a lot of shit for, like, that 1 minute she did. And the thing is, like, it wasn't even a bad adaptation of Ed's character. I feel like she followed it too faithfully.
Yeah, I agree that
I
think it sounded and felt like Ed, but the camera angles did them dirty.
Yeah.
I think Ed doesn't translate well into reality. And that was part of Ed's character. She was whimsical and fantastical.
I think part of the problem is that scene came right after the whole fallout of everything, everyone had a bad taste in their mouth already. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you. I don't know why you would bully this person over it. One, bullying is wrong. But beyond that, were you surprised that you didn't like this adaptation of Ed? To have seen the part with Ed, you had to get through the whole series. Were you fine with everything else? And then you're like, oh, Ed, that's the problem. I don't know who watched that and was like...
Yeah.
Like...
It was definitely not the worst part.
By the time I got to Ed, I'm like, this is par for the course. I feel nothing at this.
I feel like Ed was probably, like, the most faithfully adapted, though.
In
Maybe.
the 2 seconds, yeah.
She just doesn't translate well.
Maybe not.
They took that as, like, the actress being a bad actress.
Look, they're a kid. I don't want to say that they're going to be amazing. I don't want to assume anything. I haven't seen them. I don't know if I've seen them in anything else. But, it's... What did you expect? Did you expect the whole show to be like this, and then you expected Ed to be like, oh, this is amazing. This is what got me through this. This 2 seconds of Ed. People really gotta, like, get their shit together. Like,
I don't know. Like, do you guys think it would have been worse? Like, if Ed doesn't translate well to the live action, would it have been worse if Ed would have been there the whole time? Because I kind of wanted to see Ed there the whole time, but maybe it would have been wonky.
I think with enough time to get used to her, it wouldn't have been as jarring as it was.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because Ed isn't always, like, loud, big, explosive movements.
In all honesty, she just felt like a YouTuber from the mid-2000s or the mid-2010s. It's like, hey, it's Fred, kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that's...
No, but that's Ed's personality,
though. Slime commercials.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like any kid. You know, depending on how much sugar they have certain energy levels and whatnot. And Ed is not always, like, at 11. So...
Like, I feel like it might have evened out, and maybe...
I think the only part of Ed that would have been hard to, like, stomach for longer than those 2 seconds would have been the hair.
It was weird.
That was my only major,
great.
like, ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
It was a choice.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices. I'm really trying to think of, like, what the show would have been with Ed in it. Because here's the thing. Ultimately, Ed being there does not change any of the other problems that the show has.
I'm wondering if maybe if they had had Ed, they would have had to have made Faye a little more mature. But I don't know.
I feel like Ed was normally, like, a voice of innocence in a lot of this stuff. But they didn't really get into the nitty-gritty to need that voice of innocence or logic.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I don't think Ed affects this at all.
Right. Maybe it would have been just as bad either way.
It would. It would.
Ed and AYoN would have been cute. That would have been
That's fair. That's very fair. You probably could have... You know what? We probably could have gotten through the Scratch episode a lot faster because Ed just would have hacked through everything.
That's true.
Maybe that would have improved some stuff, but other than that, yeah, you're just going to add Ed's energy to this thing that already doesn't work. And even if Ed was perfect, even if Ed was, like, on the same level as, like, Jet throughout most of the show, the rest of the show doesn't work.
Yeah, so I guess it wouldn't have affected it that much.
Like, all you're adding is a piece of candy on top of the stew that doesn't taste good.
That's pretty apt.
Yeah.
How do you think One Piece is gonna be?
Bad.
No, we're not talking about it.
Netflix is like, for a bunch of stuff.
If I can say one
You know-
thing, the actors look a little bit like... more like their characters. Like, they look a little... I don't know.
Okay, great.
We did
who's
forget
writing
one positive.
What's up?
I mean, I forgot about it until it just came into my head. The fact that Yoko Kanno came back as composer.
That's true.
That is good.
Music was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't remember it as well. And I think that might be a result of, like, the editing.
Yeah, a lot of, like, the background stuff, I feel like you can tell these people cared.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I feel like there's a bunch of spots in the real Cowboy Bebop where I really remember the music because it just worked so well with the scene, and it flowed, and it elevated everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any point in this show where the music was able to elevate things to just that perfect level. But I think it's a result of the show.
I don't think they had that many emotional moments to connect to.
Yeah,
and even then, they just used a lot of times they used old tracks from the show. So,
well, yeah, they're redoing that because that's like one thing that they can translate without fucking up. But
I think for me, it's like certain times a score in a movie or a TV show feels like a character in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I felt like it did in the original Cowboy Bebop, and it didn't here. I think there was some disconnect that made it just feel like music, but not a character, or a part of it.
I'm going to throw out there, I think it comes back to like the length and stuff and the writing elements. Because like with the writing and the dialogue and all this stuff from the original show, everything had to be tight. Everything had to have a purpose. Everything had to have meaning behind what they were doing towards the plot and the characters. That included the music.
Yeah.
Like, anytime something important was happening, it was happening with music that then felt important and elevated it. But now, since half of the episode, or more of every episode, is unimportant and meaningless, anything you add with that also becomes meaningless.
Yeah.
They put some real effort into the soundtrack for the shower bath shower.
And yet I don't remember it. So that tells you what that scene meant to me. This is... I hope no one was watching this hoping we were going to say a bunch of praise for this.
Did anyone praise it?
No.
I think some people have praised some of the same things we did. I haven't heard anything bad about Jet.
Jet, yeah.
Way
to go, Jet.
For the most part, it looks fine.
Okay, then.
But
here's the ultimate question then, Al.
Go for it, Envy.
Where would you put this on the
bottom
list?
of everything?
Look, even worse than Dragon Ball.
There's one reason and one reason alone I'm going to put this at the bottom of the list, and I'll tell you because everything else is short. Like, I was really thinking about, like, because you were kind of asking me, like, well, where do
Death Note,
yeah, with this or Death Note. I'd much rather watch Death Note because
right.
It's blessedly short and there's way funnier parts to it. This is 10 hours of torture. Okay, I don't want to say torture. It's not like I've sat through things that are real torture, but...
You mean Old Boy?
No, there was still enjoyable parts about that. Look, I was thinking more of, like, Mr. Poppy.
Oh my god, you'll never let it go.
No, never. I'm genuinely wondering if I watched it again, am I just going to be a lot cooler about it? But
I think it was just in the moment.
In the moment, that was probably like the most heated I'd ever gotten over a movie. But the thing is, even with that, it's max 2 hours. This is 10 hours. I'm not sitting through 10 hours ever again of this. Death Note, maybe.
For sure. We have to watch Death Note again.
Maybe. Yeah.
This is the part where I really wish the people we were watching with may have been more tuned in, who hadn't necessarily really seen the original, because maybe. I feel like that would have been valuable input. As someone who didn't like have any clue what they were watching, like how well this translated as its own thing.
That's true, yeah.
Yep,
I
sorry.
mean,
I got wet girl wasted and had a good nap.
I'm sure there are definitely some people online who have that opinion, and if you want to go find that, you can go find them somewhere. But yeah, I think ultimately this had we not been doing other things, I would be more angry. Had we not been, like, working on stuff or doing, like,
I probably
whatever
wouldn't have made it. I probably would have stopped watching.
No, yeah, me neither, because ultimately it just felt like I was wasting my time. This feels like if you actually like Cowboy Bebop, this is a complete waste of your time.
NV, were you the only one who wasn't really, like, working on anything while we were watching?
He was working on watching me.
Well, no, I was paying attention. I would just occasionally turn my head to him to see how he would react, particularly with the finale, because I knew going in, like, okay, they're trying to do, like, they're trying to do the church fight from the midpoint of the show, but at the same time, they're doing In the Rain, which was from the final episode when he's marching towards the big climax. So, like, they're trying to make this the big climax of the season. It's just like you're kind of jumbling things all over the place. And then once Vicious was down and Julia came out and she looked pissed, I knew what they were going to do. And I'm like, no, don't you dare do it. Don't you dare. And they did it.
Yep.
And they did it.
You know,
I think Netflix is also planning on doing Yu Yu Hakusho, for your information.
Fuck.
Oh my
Fucking
god,
like
stop.
that
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Netflix can only do good things when it's animated video game adaptations. Castlevania, I heard Arcane was really good. I have to see that.
Yeah.
So
I enjoyed
the
Witcher.
The keyword there is animated.
I enjoyed Witcher.
That was live action.
The Witcher is pretty good, but it's not very faithful.
I'd have to read the books. I don't know.
who cares about Faithful when
Or
you got
play the
Henry
game.
Cavill's abs?
Oh, yeah.
Geralt is not that much of a dick in the series.
But Henry Cavill's abs.
Henry Cavill's
all
butt.
of Henry Cavill, man. You see that bath scene? Oof.
Chamomile.
Yeah, it did things for me.
Henry Cavill looked better as Geralt than he did as Superman, at the very least.
You're
Or
right.
anything else he's ever done.
You guys
It's
haven't.
like he needs to be messed up a little bit.
You guys haven't seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I'm gonna be real.
I know, that's where you fell in love with the man.
Yeah, no, I was sitting there in a theater by myself. I don't know that that many people watched it, and I was watching.
there.
Oh wait, you were there with me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
it's been
That's
a
how
while.
much he fell in love with him.
Hold up, because seriously, I was sitting there
You
in
were
that
so
theater
fixated
watching
on Henry
him,
Cavill.
and like I was having like this moment of like, that is a new feeling. Okay,
He was your awakening.
yeah, it's a bit of an awakening. It was like I never really felt before. Like, I'd fuck that guy, but like, I'd fuck that guy. I would absolutely fuck that guy. I would
Al
let him
was
fuck
so
me.
in love. Didn't even realize his partner was there next to him.
Yeah. Honestly, sorry about that.
That's fair.
We like just started dating or something, I think. 2015?
Ew, gross
I don't
commitment.
know. I don't know when that movie came out.
I think it was 2015.
Anyway.
I'd have to double check. Anyway, enough about my man crush. Do we have anything else to say here, or are we just going to end? I'm happy to end this just with the thought of Henry Cavill.
Do it.
It's going to be way better than thinking about anything else from this show.
Yay or nay?
Nay.
Nay.
I mean-
nay.
Yeah,
Nay,
no.
100%.
I feel like that is like the only hard nay we've ever gotten out of you.
Like, I'll be real with you. This is like, I don't know if you guys like watched the last episode. I know we recorded it and all that, and you guys remember that. But I had a little graphic that I actually stole from Jello Apocalypse, where it's like the scale of enjoyment kind of thing. It's a U curve of like -10 to +10, where the worst movies are zeros in the middle because there's not even like ironic entertainment there. Like a movie can be really bad, like a -10, but that also makes it extremely entertaining.
So Death Note.
The Room
Yeah.
is what I'm thinking of. But this is a 0. Maybe there's some elements of there's some good stuff here, but like the negatives bring it down so much for me that this is the one thing I'd be like, yeah, don't watch this.
It had just enough going for it from the actual series that all of the butchering they did felt so much worse.
Yeah. I hope that the people who did a good job with this continue to get work. I want to see Mustafa Shakir in more stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a good actor. Like, genuinely, if anything, this show made me realize this is a good actor. He rose himself above
Right.
garbage. That takes talent. And I want to see him in more stuff. There's not really anything else of merit here. And that really hurts me to say, because I loved Cowboy Bebop. And this just hurt to watch. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else that I can possibly say about this, and if I don't ever have to talk about it again, no skin off my back.
Yep. So, Henry Cavill's butt, though.
Henry Cavill's butt, though! Yeah!
I'm so glad I'm not here for this episode.
Ugh. I want to watch The Man from U.N.C.L.E. again. That's what we're going to do later.
Go
Are
ahead.
we good to stop?
Yeah, we're done.
Well, wait.
Hey,
Next
real
week.
quick,
Next week. Yeah.
So next week, since we're doing things that we've been putting off for a while, we did this, and next week, let's finish Magia Record. Finally, there's 4 episodes in season 3. They're out now. They're I don't even know. They might be in English. I have no idea at this point. We've waited for so long, but you know what? It's time we did it. It's basically a movie, so shouldn't be too hard to watch. I don't think. I hope not. But,
no, it's not.
So we'll do that, and then have a couple other things coming down the line. Maybe there might be a few other things that we're gonna take a look back at, or some new stuff. I don't know. We come back next week and find out after we talk Magia Record. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoy this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!